No farewell episode, no dramatic exit, just silence. One day he was there, tinkering under a rusty hood with those bright orange gloves. The next day he had vanished. For more than 10 years, Edd China was the quiet genius who gave Wheeler Dealers all its charm. His sudden departure did not just surprise the viewers. It revealed a deeper story. What really happened when Edd left the show he had helped build? Was it a creative conflict, a personal reason, or something more complicated? Let us go back to the beginning, piece by piece, to uncover the truth behind one of the most talked about departures in automotive television history. The beginnings, a sofa, a garage, and an idea. Before Edd China became a household name in the car world, before the orange gloves and worldwide television fame, he was just a curious young man with a mind full of ideas and hands that could never stay still. Born on May 9, 1971, in London and raised in the quiet suburbs of Surrey, Edd grew up surrounded by engines, gears, and questions. He was not the type to accept things as they were. If something moved, he wanted to know how. If it stayed still, he wanted to know why. Very early on, Edd was drawn to everything mechanical. But it was not only the bolts and gears that fascinated him. It was the potential hidden inside them. What could be reimagined, repurposed, or completely reinvented? This passion led him to study product engineering design at London's South Bank University. While other students worked on predictable projects, Edd had something else in mind. He was not studying to pass an exam. He was designing to amaze. His first big splash came in the form of an object nobody expected to see on the road, a living room sofa. But this was not just furniture. It was a fully motorized vehicle, road legal, christened the Casual Lofa. Equipped with steering, wheels, and a license plate, this mobile sofa was as functional as it was absurd. It turned heads everywhere it went and started conversations wherever it stopped. Above all, it proved something fundamental about Edd. He did not just repair machines. He transformed them. The success of the Casual Lofa was not a one-time stunt. It laid the groundwork for Edd's first business. In March 1999, he launched Comfy Banana Limited, a company dedicated to creating motorized machines that were as whimsical as they were functional. From the world's fastest garden shed to giant motorized shopping trolleys, Edd's inventions were playful and impressive at the same time. He was not playing with vehicles. He was redefining them. Each project brought media attention, Guinness World Records, and a growing audience fascinated by his ingenuity. Yet despite this rising fame, Edd stayed true to the workshop. He opened a vehicle testing and repair center in Bracknell called Grease Junkie, where he did not simply fix cars. He kept experimenting. That garage was not just a place for oil changes or suspension adjustments. It was a playground for mechanical innovation. Drivers came from all over Berkshire, and some left with more than a repaired car. They left with a story. Then in 2003, television producers were looking for something fresh, a concept that could combine the charm of the used car market with the technical side of real repairs. Thus, Wheeler Dealers was born. The idea was simple: buy classic cars, restore them, and sell them for a profit. But making it work required two very different personalities. Mike Brewer, the energetic and resourceful dealer, handled the buying and selling. He needed someone beside him to embody the mechanical side, someone who could bring a wreck back to life, someone like Edd. From the very first episode, the magic happened. Edd did not just fix cars. He explained them. He guided viewers through seized brake calipers, failing clutches, or electrical faults with patience and clarity. His methodical approach combined with Mike's boundless energy created a refreshing and authentic balance. There was no stage drama or exaggerated tension. It was two passionate people with different skills solving real problems in real time. Over the seasons, the show won over a wider and wider audience. It was no longer just car enthusiasts watching. Parents watched it with their kids. DeWires took notes. People who had never held a wrench started to believe they could fix their own vehicles. And that confidence, that accessibility, was owed largely to Edd. He slowed down the chaos. He made machines less intimidating. He taught without ever lecturing. By the mid-2000s, Wheeler Dealers had become a quiet but massive hit, broadcast on several continents and translated into multiple languages. Yet, at its heart, The magic still came from a garage, a camera, and a man who once decided a sofa needed wheels. The journey was just beginning, but the soul of the show had already been forged in curiosity, ingenuity, and a flat refusal to take shortcuts. Growing tension, a bigger stage, less time. Success has this strange ability to change everything in its path. What starts as a passion project in a modest British garage can, in just a few years, become a global television brand. That is exactly what happened to Wheeler Dealers. As the seasons went by, the show moved from cult favorite to international success, broadcast in more than 100 countries. But with that growth came new expectations, new pressures, and a subtle shift in what the show was becoming. By the time the series reached its 9th season, a major decision was made. Production would move to California. On paper, the move made sense. The United States offered a treasure trove of classic cars, a thriving restoration culture, and a huge audience hungry for new episodes. The change also promised better weather, bigger workshops, and easier access to an impressive variety of vehicles. For the producers and the network, it was evolution. For Edd China, it quietly marked the start of something else, a slow drift away from what gave the show its meaning. The new American set met every production expectation. It looked perfect, filled with high-performance cars, tailored for a broader audience. Muscle cars sat in every corner of the workshop. Cameras rolled from dawn until dusk. Deadlines were tighter, budgets were bigger, and commercial partnerships began to dictate what did or did not appear on screen. At first it all felt like a dream, gleaming tool chests taller than Edd himself, bigger parts budgets, and every resource a mechanic could want. But behind the scenes the pace was relentless. Episodes had to be shot faster, repairs had to be rushed. What once took 10 minutes on screen was now squeezed into a 90-second montage. A full engine teardown became a few time-lapse shots and a voiceover. The heart of the show, the workshop sequences, was slowly sacrificed for a shorter, flashier format. Edd noticed the difference immediately. The tasks that once gave him time to explain, to teach, to connect were becoming smoother, faster, and in his eyes emptier. He raised concerns. He asked, sometimes begged, for more time on repairs, more space to explain the why behind the how. He shot extra close-ups after hours, hoping they would make the final cut. Most were left on the floor. He stayed late, not for the cameras but for the viewers who still paused, rewound, and learned. For Edd it was never about screen time. It was about value. He had built his identity on transparency, on guiding people through real repairs in real time. He was not an actor who loved mechanics. He was an engineer who happened to be on television. And in this new system that identity was fading, little by little, shot by shot. Mike Brewer found himself in a tough spot. Always pragmatic, he tried to keep everyone happy. He knew the show had to evolve to survive in a fast-changing media landscape. He also knew how essential Edd's authenticity was to the series' legacy. He did his best to balance the production team's demands with his co-hosts' growing concerns. But the tension was there, building like pressure in a sealed cylinder. Even viewers started to feel it. Online, loyal fans asked questions. Why were the repairs so short? Where were the gearbox teardowns? Why did everything feel rushed? The answer, of course, was time. Producers wanted more content faster. Sponsors wanted deliverables. The network wanted growth. In that equation, nuance became a luxury, and it was a luxury Edd could not ignore. The breaking point was not one explosive argument or a theatrical confrontation. It was an accumulation. 1,000 small decisions that together told Edd the show was no longer the one he had joined. He began to consider his options, to question his place in this new format, to wonder if it was still possible to do the work he loved without compromise. He did not know it yet, but the break was coming, and when it arrived it would not be with a bang, but with a quiet, controlled goodbye that would still shake the entire world of automotive television. The break. One video that changed everything. It did not start with a press tour or a dramatic finale. There was no goodbye in the last episode, no hint dropped on air. In March 2017, Wheeler Dealers aired as usual with Edd at the bench, calmly replacing a faulty part with the precision and care fans knew so well. But behind the scenes, something irreversible had already happened. That same March, Edd posted a 6-minute video on his personal YouTube channel. The title was simple, "I'm leaving Wheeler Dealers." The tone was calm, the delivery steady, but the message was anything but trivial. Sitting at an ordinary desk, eyes steady, orange gloves within reach, Edd laid out his decision not as a stunt but as a matter of principle. The show, he explained, was changing in ways he could no longer support. The network wanted to reduce the workshop sequences. The repairs, the technical heart of the program, were being shortened or cut entirely in the name of efficiency. To some that might sound minor, but for Edd, who had built his reputation on teaching and transparency, this shift threatened everything he believed in. Craftsmanship, method, integrity, everything was at stake. "I simply could not continue," he said, not with anger but with quiet certainty. He expressed gratitude to the fans, to Mike Brewer, even to the network. But beneath the politeness, the weight of the moment was clear. Edd had drawn a line. He would rather walk away than compromise the quality of his work. The reaction was instant. Within hours, the video had hundreds of thousands of views. By the end of the day, it was all over car forums, Facebook groups, and fan pages worldwide. Within days, it reached millions of views and thousands of comments. People quoted passages, shared their feelings, speculated. For many, it felt like the end of an era. Edd China had always been the steady, reassuring presence, the one who explained without talking down, who never rushed. His exit left a hole and a lot of questions. Unfortunately, what followed was not just mourning. It was chaos. Though Edd had been careful not to point fingers, part of the audience directed its frustration at Mike Brewer. Accusations poured in. Mike had not fought hard enough to keep Edd. He had sided with the network. He had let the soul of the show slip away. Often unfounded, these criticisms spread like wildfire. Some messages crossed the line far beyond criticism. Personal attacks flooded Mike's inbox. Some comments even mentioned his family. What began as fan disappointment had turned into something darker. Mike finally responded in a podcast. His words were direct. There was no fight, no fallout, no drama. One guy quit his job, that is all. According to him, Edd had simply chosen to follow his own path. He added without bitterness that while Edd had publicly criticized the show's new direction, he himself had chosen not to answer in kind. During that interview, Mike revealed that the last time he saw Edd was in a Paris hotel bar. They had a few drinks, laughed, and parted on good terms. But after the video and the media storm that followed, contact stopped. The controversy had left scars. Seeing how bad things had gotten, Edd released a second video 6 days later. This time he did not talk about the show. He talked about Mike. He condemned the attacks his former colleague had received, stating clearly that nobody deserved threats or hate messages. He reminded everyone that Wheeler Dealers had always been a team effort and that Mike had no control over the network's editorial decisions. It was a classy move meant to calm the waters. But by then the fracture in the community was already deep. The show had to go on, and it did, without Edd. In 2018, a new face entered the workshop. Ant Anstead, a former policeman turned talented mechanic, brought his own style. Fast, friendly, skilled, but he was not Edd and never claimed to be. He inherited not just a role but the weight of expectation. Every scene, every tightened bolt was compared to his predecessor's legacy. Still, the wheels kept turning. The workshop light stayed on, but something had permanently changed. Not just in the show but in the bond between viewers and the world they once loved so much. The quiet exit of one man had exposed deeper questions about creative control, integrity, and what audiences truly value. And yet the story was far from over. The aftermath: 2 paths, 2 visions. After Wheeler Dealers, Edd China did not disappear. He found his footing again. Better yet, he thrived in a space where he could finally do things his way. No tight schedules, no sponsor-dictated cuts, no compromises. He launched Garage Revival on YouTube and then developed his own signature series, Edd China's Workshop Diaries. There, surrounded by tools and ideas, he found his rhythm again. He restored electric vehicles, rebuilt motorized sofas, and explained every bolt without hurry. The fan response was huge. Comments poured in, grateful for the return of detailed tutorials. Within a year, Edd had well over 500,000 subscribers. He was not just making content. He was sending a clear message: quality over quantity, depth over flash, trust over spectacle. The rules were simple: no tool shown on camera unless it was really in his toolbox. Sponsors had to earn their place, not buy it. The schedule was his own. Sometimes he posted weekly. Other times he paused for parts or side projects. Fans did not mind. They knew every episode would be worth the wait. Meanwhile, Wheeler Dealers kept rolling. Ant Anstead left in 2020 and was replaced by Elvis Priestley, a former McLaren F1 mechanic with dry humor and razor-sharp skill. The show returned to its British roots with a new workshop in the UK. Ratings stayed strong, but the fan community remained split. Some still missed Edd's approach. Others enjoyed the faster, lighter format. Mike Brewer kept steering the ship, balancing television demands with a legacy now spanning decades. Yet despite the distance, reunion rumors never stopped. Two trajectories, one shared legacy. In 2023, the speculation heated up again. A blog hinted at a possible guest appearance. A Reddit thread exploded after someone claimed to have seen Mike and Edd talking at Goodwood. The idea of a special anniversary episode started circulating. Neither man confirmed nor denied the rumors. When asked, Mike gave his usual grin: "Never say never." In a live stream, Edd answered a fan question with a wink: "Only if we show every nut and every bolt." Not a yes, but far from a no. Then fans finally got a glimmer of hope. The two men appeared at the same classic car show, speaking on separate panels but sharing a moment backstage. A photo made the rounds. Smiles were exchanged. Twitter lit up. Weeks later, Mike posted a birthday message to Edd. Edd replied with a thumbs-up emoji. For many, it felt like oil on a dry gear. Today, each man follows his own road. Edd experiments with hydrogen taxis and alternative fuels. Mike pushes the show toward its 20th season, promising the biggest profit ever made. They rarely mention each other in interviews, but always with respect. The handshake has not happened yet, but the garage door is not locked either. Two styles, two visions, one unforgettable partnership. Maybe the future holds a reunion, or maybe it is not needed. Their story keeps rolling, carried by the people who watched and loved them enough to ask the right questions. And you, which version of Wheeler Dealers speaks to you most? Are you Team Detail or Team Deal? Let us know in the comments, and do not forget to subscribe for more untold stories from the screen.